Hello and welcome to the AV Forums Movies podcast for Monday, the 2nd of October, 2023. Tonight, I'm joined by Tom Davies,
Wibble,
Simon Crust,
Wibble, wibble.
and Mark Costello.
Wibble, wibble, wibble. Oh, so not funny.
No one's going to explain what that's about.
No.
This week, Tom is going to talk to us about his background image. The 2023's last big screen sci-fi should have been June, but we instead got the creator from Gareth Rogue One Edwards. I'm going to stay at home and talk about Reptile, the latest from Benicio del Toro, and also the fact that Disney's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 on 4K actually has expanded IMAX scenes. I know, shock. Just thought to end it there. Mark's going to look at Studiocanal's release of the others in 4K, and Simon is going to revisit Renny Harlin's absolute production company destroying box office disaster, Cutthroat Island in 4K. And off the back of that, we're going to take a look at our best and worst Renny Harlin picks. Eventually,
so many belters.
I had such a ball looking at the. I mean, you can tell from the backdrop. We got stuff to talk about.
I've done no research and will be basing everything I say on films that I watched 10, 15 years ago.
It's all good.
We expect nothing less, Tom. Nothing less.
Rigorous.
Let's have some competitions, Mark.
Okay, so we've got two absolute blinders to kick things off here. We've partnered with the good folks over at Peter Tyson, so you can win a pair of Bowers & Wilkins 607 S3 bookshelf speakers, complete with Audio Quest Rocket 11 speaker cable, worth a total of £919. Excellent prize. But if that's not enough for you, good people, we've also partnered with AV.com, where you can win a complete monitor audio and Roxanne hi-fi system worth nearly £2,500. Now, that includes a pair of monitor audio bronze 500 floor standers, a Roxanne Atessa integrated amplifier, and a visual cable pack. I mean, wow. But if discs are more your jam, we've got exclusive offers for patrons that include Studiocanal's U571 on 4K and Studiocanal's Cutthroat Island. Stay tuned, folks. On limited edition Steelbook 4K, we've got the modern horror classic It Follows on limited edition 4K Ultra HD, as well as David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future, also on limited edition 4K Ultra HD. We've got Fast X on 4K Blu-ray, The Flash on Blu-ray, plus a selection of my last top 10 recommended UK Blu-rays for September, including The Ship That Died of Shame, Blazing Magnum, Antichrist Marlowe, and an Asteroid City bundle, as well as a pair of Radiance Films limited editions, Scream and Scream Again, and The Dead Mother. So head over to avforums.com/competitions to enter. And as ever, all competitions are open to eligible AV Forums members resident in the UK.
Nice. So
great prizes there. Ooh,
it's a pretty good run. It's a pretty good run. I mean,
those are excellent.
It's nice we stuck Radiance in there. We've got some new partners who'll be supplying us with competition prizes. So we got Radiance getting in there. We got Third Window Films, and I'm hoping to twist 88 Films arm and get some from them as well.
Chinese burn them, Kaz. Chinese burn the hell out of them.
Nice. Previous winners. Supporter Phileas won 3 British comedies by Mural Box on Blu-ray. Supporter Togasa won Inu-O on Blu-ray. That's mental, apparently, Mark.
It's a great film.
Supporter Jay Finney won One Piece on Blu-ray. And supporter Sam V 2001 won 2 Anti-Worlds limited edition Blu-rays. And new patrons, we've got Greg Andrews bought us a coffee.
Oh, nice.
Oh, my Lord.
Thank you.
Brought us a coffee. That's very kind. I like that. I like coffee. Right. Let's have some movie news and reviews. Well, perhaps not quite the sci-fi event we had planned for autumn. Okay, I'm just going to say I was a little disappointed that I couldn't tune it up. But the flip side to that is I hadn't really heard anything about the creator. And Tom's background image alone, which for those who are just listening is just the original poster that came for the creator, had me very intrigued. And I have to date not watched the trailer. Tell us, Tom, tell us about the creator.
It is a really interesting, high concept, though not original concept, science fiction, like mid-budget, but big impact. And I'm just going to say at the outset, definitely go to the cinema and check it out, because it is amazingly visually spectacular. And if you are going to see it anywhere, I would imagine that your best experience of this is going to be on the biggest screen with the best sound system, because that is the key strength. So it is a story about a parallel development of robots, like a parallel history in which robots have developed throughout the 50s and 60s. So all of that, like 50s and 60s futurism, that happened, and we got robots. And now, in the just beyond the present day, we're in a sort of not quite post-apocalyptic state, but post-terrorist attack state, perpetrated by AI and robots. So Los Angeles, it doesn't exist anymore. It has been destroyed by a nuclear bomb, which has been blamed on AI and the robots produced by that AI. And so,
Like
as a
Skynet,
result,
right? Skynet?
yeah, we've already
right a strike. Yeah,
let's already start like labeling things that we recognize, because that will continue for a while. Okay. They therefore move all of the robots to Vietnam, against which the Americans lead covert assaults. Do you want to hazard a reference guess there?
Deer Hunter. Deer Hunter.
The subtext is just too. It's too sub for me, Tom. I need a bit more text in my subtext.
So a team of Marines with different characters, some of them hard cases, some of them jokers. Again, feel free to jump in. The real story here is that John David Washington's character, Joshua, is an ex-Marine who is roped back in to defeat the creator, to assassinate the creator of this AI menace, who has remained a mystery this entire time, and a supposed new secret weapon that has been built by this AI, who turns out to be the first robotic child. And that's, I hope that's not spoilers.
It's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer.
I haven't seen the trailer. You told me the movie. I'm not going to see it.
So that's the setup, basically. And then from that point on, it is about Joshua coping with taking this robotic child either back to the US for experimentation or destruction, or sort of battling his own ethics as he begins to see this thing as a child. And that's
I think
the
I've
story.
seen the trailer for this.
You've seen all the trailers, Simon, for this.
I think I've seen the trailer for this.
Yeah,
it looks quite good.
Do you know what? When I saw the trailer, I thought, oh, I see, it's AI meets District 9. That's what I'm getting from the trailer, which and it completely is to begin with. And all of those like little references we picked out immediately there, they're all in there, but they are all in there in the first act. They're all in there as like you've seen this before, let's have fun spotting where you've seen it before, and then we'll get to the actual story that this film wants to tell. And so the first hour is kind of, I don't know, your mileage will vary depending on how much fun you have picking out those references, or how annoying you kind of find that. And I was right on the fence there. Like I sort of appreciated that Gareth Edwards was, you know, putting his heart on his sleeve and saying, like, these are the films I love. But at the same time, I was kind of waiting for that bit to be over. And I was worried that it was going to last like the full 2 hours, 2 hours 15, whatever the movie is. But it doesn't. And eventually it moves on. And what it moves on to is the most incredible spectacle of science fiction cinema that we've seen since June. Easily. Like the scope and scale of the repeated invasions of Southeast Asia by America and their tanks the size of skyscrapers and floating orbital nuclear platforms that are the size of a small town, and just everything is huge and meticulously designed. Although robots are really clever, so you've got, if you can see the background here, you can see that this is one style of robot. They also have a completely different design for the police robots, completely different design for the simulants, who I guess are sort of like the closest to human-looking robots. And those are not the only three. There are so many different types and so many different designs that all of the pre-production work is right there and absolutely fascinating to watch. And you've just got an hour of this really enjoyable feast of like, oh my god, look at this sci-fi creativity going on right in front of me. It's pulse pounding, it looks incredible, but the storyline I couldn't really care less about, and the characters I couldn't really care less about. And this is going to be a film that was just pure references but is now just pure spectacle, and okay, that's fine. I'm enjoying that for what it is. And then it stops being that, and all the spectacle goes away. And instead of the spectacle, we get a really laser-focused drama, purely about the relationship between Joshua and Alfie, this robot child. And for all of the previous hour and a half or whatever, where you're like, I don't really care about anyone, it pulls out the bag 2 moments where suddenly you feel like you're going to cry. Like, this is big, emotional, heavy-hitting moments, like 2 in a row. And suddenly the film is now purely about this relationship between Joshua and Alfie. And that's good as well in itself. What it then sort of like fumbles is the plot making sense, which is a real shame, because what you've got in the middle of the film is a very straightforward and interesting looking action movie, and at the end what you've got is a very complex and kind of nonsensical interpersonal drama, and those two things are enjoyable while they're going on but do not sit well together at all. And for that reason, it's just a really, really interesting, like, I would call it an almost great movie. It is definitely a good movie. I'm quite happy to say it's a good movie because of the elements of it are right. Just not all the elements all the time. And that's what sort of makes it like so close, Gareth Edwards. Regardless of the fact that I didn't love it, I would still recommend it without a second thought, just because it is a bit of science fiction cinema that is original IP, like not necessarily original in concept, but this is Gareth Edwards' idea that he has put on screen.
We need original
need
cinema.
stuff.
Yeah, we need new stuff. Yeah,
you can't overstate how great it looks, and then how great it looks for the comparatively small budget. It will just blow you away how much he gets, like how much bang he gets for his buck in this movie. And money and numbers is not like the most interesting way to talk about cinema, but it will hit you while you're watching it. Like, if you are aware that this is like a low to mid budget movie, like, wow, who knew you could do this for this money? Like, it's
well, not
fascinating.
Marvel.
yeah right, it's like the exact opposite of the Marvel effect, where they just throw money at it and you get generic CGI
Yeah.
blobs being chucked at each other. Whereas this is like, no, this is, you've not seen this before. This is new. And so even though, like I say, even though it's not my favorite movie ever, definitely going to watch it again. It's definitely a no-brainer recommendation. It's not a perfect movie, but it is worth seeing. So if you get the opportunity, definitely go and see it.
I want to go and see this.
I should just say, like I said, go and see it in IMAX. It's not expanded ratio because it's been shot super wide, so it looks like Ben-Hur. It's absolutely,
Wow.
it's really, really amazing to look at. So even if you go and see it IMAX, you're not going to get the height on it, but you are still going to get this immersive experience of like big, crisp, gorgeous picture. So go see it.
I want to go and see this, and I think I'm going to try and plan to go and see it this week. But I really thought the timing of this, what with June dropping and what with a very, very light cinema schedule, I really thought it would mean an original sci-fi would have open reign to succeed. Pull the opposite of Mission Impossible. But it sounds like it's not doing very good numbers, which is crazy.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that, Kaz, because this should be my jam. This has got this. Gareth might as well put up a title card that said 4 mark before the trailer. It's my jam. And I watched the trailer and I could not have been any less enthused by it. And I watched the second trailer and I was even less enthused by it.
You'll be pleased to hear, Mark, that it is bad trailering, because I had the exact same reaction to it.
Don't watch trailers. I haven't seen the trailers, and I'm going to go see it, and it's my jam.
But you know what? But I think that this is a real. I mean, people have been saying on the threads quite rightly that people have been moaning about the lack of this mid-budget original film, and one comes along and no one goes to see it. Why is that? And interestingly enough, I think for all the reasons that we've said, it's a melange of very obvious influences. You watch, all right, Kaz, we watch the trailer and almost every single shot you roll your eyes because you go, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Seen that. I've seen that. Now, whether or not it is just purely bad trailering, or from what Tom has said, they've got the spectacle, but you know what? I could go to my Apple TV, I could flip from Foundation to Ahsoka, and I've got visual spectacle. Right there. I've got it there. When Tom says, well, the narrative's a bit, you just think, right, so what is in this for me? And even though it should be my jam, and I've been racking my brains because I've been seeing the comments in, loads of people are saying, well, it's really good. And
a lot of people love it.
I could not give a rat's backside about this film, and I should, and it pains me that I don't. But I think that's the film's problem.
Yeah, it might be.
A lot of people aren't showing up for it given the state of the box office. So
I'm going to go and see it. I'm not
for whatever reason.
Kaz, go and see it 8 times, Kaz. Make up for all of us.
Go and see it. Damn it!
It's real sad that it's not doing so good at the box office, because it's exactly what we want to see more of. And I think maybe I was a little, I don't know, maybe my overall enthusiasm for it didn't come across so much in the review, but
I did.
It's real different in places, and just it's a sad thing that the money people in Hollywood are probably going to look at this and go, well,
more Marvel.
DTV next time, Gareth, which would be really sad. I think.
Always did. I mean, Cruise did Edge of Tomorrow and Oblivion for the pros and cons. That this is original scale sci-fi. I mean, I would love to see more films like that, but they didn't blow away the box office in the way that every Mission Impossible sequel, but the last one did. Mm-hmm. So I guess,
but it's bizarre, because I think there was one comment in the thread, when someone said, "Well, what kind of world is it where no one goes to see this?" And someone said, "Oh, the world where Barbie makes $1 billion." I've just said I could turn on the TV and see 20 visually resplendent sci-fi extravaganzas. There was only one Barbie this year, and it cleaned up. Maybe this is what we need to start thinking about.
Barbie.
Yeah, more Barbie.
Barbie in space.
All Barbie every no, but it's things like, and again, this is maybe just a personal thing for me, but like I said, with wall-to-wall spectacle these days, I want more.
There was a Ken in this.
They should have done. You
There
know
was
what?
a Ken.
They should have.
Sold. Was it Knuff? No, Tom.
They should have done like a Nolan when it comes to the marketing. They should have done really moody, dialogueless trailers.
Yeah.
Old style.
They should have given
not just flash images tell you the whole story in a heartbeat. And
exactly. They should have given nothing away about it.
Should have done really moody trailers. Just original sci-fi, just like the picture behind Tom.
Just everything show the nomad, show the robots.
Yes.
Like that would be enough to like
people Dune style. Yeah.
Absolutely. Worked, and it worked for Dune, like more or less. I mean, Dune wasn't a runaway success, but it was a success.
It was, at a bad time.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
and I think given the fact that Dune was supposed to be dropping imminently and is now not, it kind of makes the release window of the creator even more like, what? You were going to pit this against Dune?
Yeah, I know. It was bad times. They should clean up anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And speaking to not going out to cinema to see the creator, I stayed at home and watched Reptile. And this is the latest Netflix. You know, I have to say, Netflix are on a roll with me at the moment. Every time I put on a film expecting a turkey, it turns out to be good. And I'm like, damn it, I wanted to vent. This is the latest Netflix movie. It's director Grant Singer's writer-director debut. And it's a good one, Reptile, with Benicio del Toro, Alicia Silverstone, Michael Pitt, Justin Timberlake. I mean, there's a bunch of names in it, but they're the headlining cast. It's a murder investigation. It's got vibes a little bit close to the recent The Little Things with Denzel Washington. But I think it's a superior film. It's done more confidently, and it's Del Toro. I had no real expectations. It is Netflix, but it doesn't look or feel like a Netflix movie right from the outset. It's got a fabulous score, really discordant. I mean, in a way, it telegraphs a few of the characters, but you don't realize that till later. But it's a real get under your skin score that makes you feel like anything could go wrong at any time. Ostensibly, it's Benicio del Toro's cop who's got a shady background. He's moved to a new town. He's got a new position courtesy of his uncle-in-law. And he's trying to make it work, and he lands this homicide, really a brutal homicide, which you only discover after the fact, so you don't see what takes place, and he's got to investigate it and see what happens. And the slow unspooling of what he discovers and the revelations about what he's kind of up against, it's just meticulously done. And Del Toro really carries it as a very confident guy and a confident police officer. But clearly, a lot is out against him. And I don't think he realizes that from the outset. There are a few obvious name drop movies. I'm not going to name them because people have to come to that conclusion after watching them. But they're all pretty good.
Is it AI, Aliens?
It is, yes. Platoon. And I think I think that the movie took me off guard because it's 2 hours plus and it's on Netflix. I expected bloated, no editor in sight, shot through with this massively gaudy Dolby Vision hue and infinite black darkness so that you couldn't see anything at night. It doesn't. It's got a really gritty, bleached edge to it, intentionally grainy. It's got that score, which is fantastic, and it's a real slow burn. Like, very, very happy to get under the skin of these characters, and the actors really make it work. It's gonna take its time and then deliver the goods. The one film I'll compare it to is Prisoners, Villeneuve's Prisoners. I would say that if there's any director that Grant Singer is hoping to idolize in his style here, it is Villeneuve, and it's a great person to pick. So I would highly recommend it. I think most people will be sold on Del Toro, but just don't let Netflix put you off.
Wow.
Yeah, it's easily done.
That's what we've come to, haven't we?
Yeah, it should be.
That's it.
I mean, Jesus, Alicia Silverstone. I don't remember the last time I've seen her in anything, but she's great in it.
The Requiem.
The
Tom's
Requiem.
favorite.
It was the Requiem.
Yes. Well, I know. I read the review, if that counts, but I mean, no, I have not, because I read the review. I have not watched that film.
Underrated movie.
Yes. Almost great. Yes. Right. Next up, we're going to talk 4K discs.
Wibble.
If you enjoy the podcast on YouTube, then please like and subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version, then please leave us a rating on your podcast app. We invite you to email questions and feedback to podcast@avforums.com and join in with this episode's discussion thread in the podcasts forum at AV Forums.
Right, we're going to have a quick look at what's upcoming on 4K first. Go for it, Mark.
Okay, so we're going to start in the UK. Arrow have announced a really half-baked Child's Play 4K collection for the 11th of December. Seemingly, they've taken note of their Bruce Lee set and given us the most famous film of the entire set in measly old 1080p. Rights issues, obviously, but have a word. Come on. Second Sight, meanwhile, are delivering us the Gonzo French slasher come head scratcher, Haute Tension or High Tension for you Anglophiles in there. Whatever. On the 27th of November, so that's good. Studiocanal are also bringing us the bestest ever Father Christmas film, Janet Schwartz's Santa Claus the Movie, on the 3rd of November. Do you know what? I'm just...
Oh my God.
Don't shoot the messenger.
I could have said just John Schwartz. Warner Brothers are bringing us Jehone Carpenter's favorite film, Rio Bravo, the same day, with a steelbook coming the week after. That was John Carpenter, in case people missed the gag there. While Universal have announced the third in their classic Hitch box sets, with Volume 3 including Rope, Torn Curtain, Man Who Knew Too Much, Topaz, and Frenzy coming on the 6th of November, which is just 2 weeks after they unleash Oppenheimer on us on 4K.
Which man who knew too much? Is it the Jimmy Stewart or the Peter Lorre one?
It's the Jimmy Stewart one.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. However, in the US, Arrow can very obviously dig it with their announcement of Walter Hill's seminal gang flick, The Warriors. You like what I did there? Coming on December the 12th. Vinegar Syndrome have announced the latest in their BSU line of Daryl, which is shipping imminently. I have pre-ordered. Can't wait for that. Kino Lorber are bringing kiddie classic The Monster Squad out on November the 28th. Criterion are releasing Guillermo del Toro's Netflix stop-motioner Pinocchio on December the 12th. Shout Factory are allegedly bringing JFK out in December, if a tweet by director Oliver Stone is to be believed. But this morning, they dropped a whole load of other announcements. They're bringing all the US Ring films, rubs, but also they're bringing Clue, the greatest film based on a game ever made. That's coming out in December, hopefully. Spielberg's classic Duel is reportedly coming from Universal in the US on November the 14th, so expect that over here about the same time. Lionsgate are prepping 80s Brat Pack Western Young Guns for December the 5th. Finally time to retire that pig ugly Blu-ray we've had to suffer through. And finally, Paramount are dropping Titanic on the same date. Now, normally we'd say we can expect a similar UK release, but given that over here, 20th Century Fox, now Disney have the UK rights, God knows what we're going to get. That might have to be an import for the third biggest film of all time. That's it. No finishing rant from me. I'm in quite a good place with all the 4K goodness, so that'll do.
Where can I get JFK from? Where am I ordering this? I want it like I've got my phone out. How
Mark did say if Oliver Stone's tweet is to be believed. I would
God damn
say
it. Oliver Stone
Oliver
says a lot of
Stone-
nonsense.
yeah, Oliver Stone would want us to disbelieve a lot of things he says. I think that's
Well, if you check out the threads, he was tweeting about Natural Born Killers on 4K, and he just dropped. Oh, and by the way, they're also throwing out JFK as well sometime in December. It's like,
wow.
whoa, wait to bury the lead there, Oliver.
In a box set with the documentary. That's what we want.
Possibly. So there's some really good stuff coming there. These 4Ks are coming thick and they are coming fast, and it's a good mix of the majors, the boutiques, some classics, some cult classics. There's some really good stuff coming at this moment in time. So yay all round for fans of physical media.
It's definitely picking up steam. Considering the start of the year, it's definitely picking up steam. Tell us about the others in 4K, Mark.
Yes, I will. So now, look, Tom's going to snigger. Alejandro Amenabar, is that right?
I don't know. What are you asking me?
He'll only tell you if it's wrong.
I know. So Alejandro Amenabar's 2001 classic ghost story. I'm not going to dwell too much on it. It's still a really, really good chiller. Sort of sits halfway between The Sixth Sense and, for me, Del Toro's The Devil's Backbone. It doesn't lose anything on this umpteenth rewatch because of where the story ends up going. It's all about that mood, that atmosphere, and if you do want to just scratch under the surface a little bit, there's so much stuff there. The fact that Amenabar's being of Spanish heritage and sort of that country's relationship with war, the fact that it set this story that didn't have to be set anywhere near a war, it set it just coming out of World War II and on the Channel Islands with its own very, very varied history with the conflict. There's so much going on under it, and it's a fantastic film. The 4K disc on paper is a really interesting one. So it comes with no wide color gamut and no HDR. So in essence, you're buying this for the 4K resolution bump. You can talk about encode and all that kind of stuff, but in essence, you do not have the usual mainstay of HDR, Dolby Vision, wide color gamut. That's not there. Now, initially, as I was watching it for a film, I thought this was a really odd choice. The film is bathed. No, scratch that. It's practically drowning in shadows, and these shadows are deep. They are black, none more black, as Spinal Tap would say. And you can't help but think that HDR and wide color would have put a little bit of detail in it. Would have just put a little bit more oomph into those shadows. But then you realize that Amenabar was much more interested in creating not just a period film in terms of its content and its mood, but in its look. It's lit by natural candlelight, but it's specifically muted to give it that late 40s look and feel of the visuals. And you can't help but think, but maybe HDR, wide color gamut, all that kind of stuff would have just pushed it a little bit too far. However, that's not to say this looks exactly like the old 1080p Blu-ray. It doesn't. In some cases, the film's cooled down a little bit. Faces have a little bit more of a naturalistic skin tone compared to the previous 1080p disc. However, it's not a blanket. Everything's cool. There's a couple of shots where the walls behind there's a scene where Nicole Kidman is following footsteps through the house. She walks into the library carrying a shotgun, and on the old 1080p disc, the wall is a sort of beigey browny color, and on this new version, it's a very overt blue color. But the cooling down isn't overt. There are other scenes where actually it's gone the other way. The picture's warmed up a little bit. The highlights from the candlelight on Nicole Kidman's face in a couple of scenes are much warmer. So it looks like some real care and attention has gone into the new color grade. And just because there's no wide color gamut or HDR, there is a new color grade to this. And the 4K resolution, a lot of people say, the bump in 4K resolution from 1080p isn't all that obvious. Well, it is on this one, actually. Again, if you do comparisons as I did, you can see there is a resolution bump here. Grain, for the most part, is even and is really well handled by the encode. There's a couple of scenes where the grain disappears slightly, but I'm chalking that up to early 2000s CGI fog just sort of blotting the entire screen out and swathing everything in very low resolution pixels. On the whole, I got about half an hour into this film and I was scratching my head thinking, there's not really an awful lot of difference in this image from the aged old Miramax disc. But by the time I'd got to the end and I'd done some A/B comparisons, I was sold on it. It is better colored. It has better resolution. Obviously, the grain is better managed. The encode is solid. So all round, from a picture front, it does end up being a significant. Scratch that. It ends up being a definite increase in terms of visual quality. The other big ask here of the film is that it comes with a brand new Atmos track. Now, I was all geared up for being bombarded with ghostly footsteps and whispers and all that kind of stuff. And again, you kind of forget what a quiet film it is. It's a really quiet film. Amenabar makes so much use of silence. But then, of course, it changes. It needs to be loud. It needs to be agile. And the track does that brilliantly. The number of times I jumped just because all of a sudden that footstep sounded very loud. And in that respect, it retains all the goodness of the previous DTS track. The Atmos expansion, obviously, there's some fun moments with footsteps running overhead. Of course, you like that. The biggest sort of sell of this is how to phrase this better. It sounds bigger. The rooms that they're in, even if it's only a whisper over here or a conversation going from the corner, you can hear the atmospherics of it and the echoes of it just slightly now coming out. So in that respect, the Atmos track really does add a touch of size, scope, and scale to these rooms. And of course, in terms of extras, the big extra that we got here was a new just over 50 minutes chat with Amenabar and Christopher Eccleston and Nicole Kidman. And I think the producer of the film, looking back very fondly at the time, but it was a very, very good, open, frank conversation about the film, their time with it, influences, context, legacy. It's a very, very good watch. They've got a load of legacy stuff on there as well, which of course is good. And you come away thinking that's pretty good until you realize that the upcoming Criterion 4K shares exactly the same transfer, shares all the same extras, and adds a couple of extra stuff. You've got a new commentary from Amenabar, you've got another interview with him, and there's a couple of other things on there. So all in, it's a very, very pleasant upgrade over the previous disc for a very good film. However, if you want the absolute best package, you are better off getting the Criterion. Not just because it does away with that god-awful cover Studiocanal stuck on it. I mean, just bleh. But go and buy it anyway, because it's a great film on a great disc.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you, Mark.
You're very welcome, Kaz.
Well, we also looked at Guardians from Disney, which, you take the good and the bad with Disney. The reality is that they turn in pretty damn good encodes. Their discs look nice and polished and fantastic, and taken on their own, apart from the Atmos complaints we've had over the years, by and large, it's a pretty consistent studio at turning out decent releases. The trouble they have is they've kind of undone themselves by doing a streaming service that offers things that they don't do on the disc, and as well as most of the stuff they do on the disc, like the extras. It's a shame, because if any other studio was releasing discs as kind of consistently good as Disney, they would be applauded for it. I mean, you look at other studios, maybe like, I don't know, Paramount, or even some of the problems that Studiocanal have had. Everyone seems to have had a few problems over the last 12 months, maybe longer. Disney's output's pretty regular, but if you go to Disney Plus, you get their output in IMAX enhanced. You get like Dolby Vision. You get all the bells and whistles, and even if in side-to-side comparisons, or back and forth comparisons, they don't actually make a great deal of difference. The fact that it's got that little tag on it just entices people to go, this disc isn't worth as much. The latest Guardians release is, I think, one of the first releases from them on disc I've come across that comes with IMAX expanded scenes, and it was a nice surprise. I saw the film. I saw the film with the IMAX expanded ratio, and I saw the changing scope that they implemented for it. And I think that what's interesting here is we don't get the same video version that people have got on Disney Plus. This is like a theatrical IMAX experience where you do get a shifting aspect ratio, whereas the Disney Plus IMAX enhanced is a fixed scope for the entire film. And what's interesting about that, because I appreciate a lot of people still be sucked in on Disney Plus, is apart from those who are going to be annoyed by what their projector does, it's actually more of an immersive experience to have it change ratio when you're supposed to wow at that scene, rather than just have it blanket big. And I hadn't noticed that before. Blanket big's great. IMAX enhanced for some of Disney stuff is good, but there is some dead space, and on the disc you don't have that. And sometimes it changes a little bit too often, but sometimes it's a very cool scene that it suddenly got big. I had a lot of fun with that. I also went back and forth between the Disney Plus Atmos, which was surprisingly bassy, to the Atmos on the disc, which is absolute demo. And overall, I thought it was a cut above what anyone has really come to expect from Disney, which is already a pretty good standard. And one of their best releases in a long time. And same can be said about the movie. I really enjoyed Guardians Volume 3. I know it's got some mixed things. I know it's getting a lot of comparison to like the pre-Endgame Infinity Saga movies and how they were consistently of a better standard. I had a blast with Guardians 3. It had some heart to it. It had putting Rocket front and center was a lovely move. I really
However you cut it, it's better than 2, not as good as 1.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
one
it.
is
like
yes.
however you rate them, I think that's probably like a safe thing to say.
Yes, and
But Mark disagrees.
Well, yeah.
See, you just I mean,
I'm not
doing it
opening that
just
can
for
of worms,
no.
otherwise we're never going to get to Renny Harlin. But just to say, Mark disagrees.
You
And
can
that's
take that,
okay.
and you can
That's
take
okay.
that to the bank.
That's allowed. Mark can disagree. That's fine.
Mark disagrees by quoting Steven Seagal.
That's absolutely
Good.
correct.
Anyway, go get Guardians 3 or just watch it on Disney. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm just telling you right now, the disc is pretty good and a nice surprise.
Excellent.
Yeah. Side, tell us, let us roll into Renny Harlin off the back of, and I'm only halfway through it. Tell us about Cutthroat Island. What happened?
Cutthroat Island. What happened? What did happen? Why did it fail so miserably at the box office? It's a mystery. Because the film has got everything you would expect from a blockbuster swashbuckling pirates film. Superb action sequences, fantastic sword fights, an easy to follow plot, a good chemistry between the leads, a kick-ass leading lady, cannons galore, and a baddie chewing the scenery, chewing the sails off the scenery. Everything about it should work. But for some weird and quirk of fate, the whole greatness of the individual set pieces don't come together to make a cohesive, great whole. And I can't explain why. So, it ends up being, sadly, a very average film from what is spectacularly good set pieces, basically. Disc-wise, it's a phenomenal set, absolutely brilliant. The pictures, I've got the details of the picture. I think it's in the written review. 4K restoration produced in 2023 4K 16-bit scan done by Picture Shop using 35mm original negative, sound restoration, and then picture and sound restoration completed by VDM Laboratoire. Is that right, Tom? Laboratoire, France, and it was color graded and supervised by some chap called Reginald Julien. Julien, is that right?
Jesus Christ.
Red
But whatever.
Jones.
But whatever, it was lovingly. It has been lovingly restored from the original camera negative, and it looks absolutely amazing. Seriously amazing. Detail out of this world. Right up the hairs out of people's noses, right over to the clouds over in the distant horizon. You can't fault it on the detail. It's absolutely spectacular. The landscapes that you can see down from in Thailand, especially, are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The Dolby Vision grade is a super golden hue to it. It's really rich and vivid. You've got beautiful striking reds, very lush greens, lovely looking blues. Skin tones are great. Superb blacks. It's an absolutely belter of a picture. You can't fault the picture for what it is. It's absolutely brilliant. The soundtrack is a 5.1 master, DTS HD 5.1. It's almost as good as Atmos. It is surround galore. Cannonballs flying at you, creaking floorboards, pistols, people punching each other, kicking shouts. A cacophony of sound, surround sound. Outstanding, absolutely brilliant. And on top of that, you've got, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brand new extras in addition to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legacy stuff that's already on there. Sadly, I haven't seen any of those because they were on the Blu-ray and we weren't supplied with the Blu-ray. But nevertheless, so you've got a brand new remastered film that looks fantastic. You've got a surround track which is out of this world, and you've got a whole bunch of extras which are brilliant. I don't have the box to show you, unfortunately, because there we go. Kaz has got it there. That's the
competition prize, right?
The competition prize there. I was only given the check disc. So it's so does that fantastic package make the film better? Well, clearly no, but it makes the set better. The set is worth the purchase because it's absolutely outstanding. I think it's probably worth noting the contentious part about this release. It's being compared, and I think rather unjustly, to the 2009, a 15-year-old Blu-ray, 1080p Blu-ray. Now, who knows where that source came from? That ever been remastered? Was that an original negative? Was that the color? This has gone right back to the beginning, and it's been colorized as it should be. This is probably how it should be. Surely we should be moaning about the old 1080p, going, that looked crap. This looks fantastic. Why didn't we have this in the first place? It's a strange and weird and wonderful world we live in, where we can be moaning about something that is so good.
Not really. People just saw a screen grab on their phone and went, "Nah, it looks like pissy. I'm not going." I mean, really, I flipped the disc early and watched the first hour, and it was just gorgeous.
It's incredible.
I mean, if it ever looked better than that, I would be very surprised.
I just think it's Studiocanal though have got form, haven't they? I mean, I've had the great displeasure of sitting through their Cat's Eye and Red Sonja, and even the Gilliam and King Kong films, and all of those they look wrong. That was the problem with those discs. They looked wrong. Not in comparison to the other one. It just looked, well, there's no way that sky was that turquoise.
Yeah, this doesn't.
This is nice.
And I think that's the problem that Studiocanal have shot themselves at. They're the studio that cried piss yellow. That's what they are. and now everything that looks like that is so the Studiocanal botch job. I haven't seen it, but
it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, from what I've seen of those screen grabs, again, it's one of those, isn't it? Every other aspect of it is a massive improvement, but because the color wash is slightly different, people are saying, "Oh, it's a load of old rubbish."
I know, but I've seen it in motion, and what Si said about it is spot on.
I mean,
I'm going to pick it up.
About it.
Definitely.
I mean, we're not DPs. Nobody saw it at the cinema. Nobody's got anything to compare it against, apart from this. You did not.
Sure did.
Tom put his hand up.
100%.
And what was
And
the colour
hasn't
grading
seen
like?
it since.
Oh, let me think back to when I was maybe like 8 or 9 when I was judging the color grading on Cutthroat Island.
Exactly.
Nice.
Anyway, so what did you think of the film then? Jumping off into Renny Harlin, was it one of his best films?
We can't jump into Renny Harlin now.
Oh,
We
can we
can't
not?
do it. We need a whole other segue. We need to
Okay.
talk about streaming and TV news, make it sound super artificial, and then come back in a nice, comfortable period of time. Otherwise, we won't have a third ident and we'll all
We've got
cry
10
and go
minutes.
home. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. I got to say the words. Next up, it's streaming and TV show news and our theme of the week, Renny Harlin.
If you'd like to support the AV Forums podcast on a regular basis, then why not become a patron? Head over to patreon.com/AV Forums to sign up. You can also make a one-off donation through the Super Chat or via streamlabs.com/AV Forums. All donations help us to improve the website and the podcasts. Thank you to all our supporters.
Quick shout out to some streaming. Philip Barantini's Accused, which was his follow-up to Boiling Point, which was his feature film adaptation of his short film starring Stephen Graham. I love Boiling Point. Great. I mean, great. Superb tension in the kitchen, single shot take. Graham, fabulous form. Accused dropped on Netflix. No one noticed it. It's it's a slow build of a I don't really want to say much about it, but like a home threat movie, let's go with. Fabulous at building tension, just like in Boiling Points. You know, he just cranks it until it's absolutely unbearable and turns it all in 90 minutes and leaves you exhausted.
Too stressful, man. It's too stressful.
Do it on Netflix, says the guy who's going to be bringing us a review of the TV show Boiling Point shortly.
Also too stressful.
Too stressful. Yeah.
Too stressful.
And
not enjoyable. Too stressful.
We're going to talk House of Usher, which everyone here is undoubtedly going to watch when it's dropped, because we're doing a podcast the day before it actually is released, and I can't preview it any more than I already have in a preview review. So we're going to talk it the night before. We're going to now look at our theme of the week, which is the best and worst Renny Harlin movies. So
I have in my hand a list.
You have your list. Well, yeah, yes. I did.
Weirdly, it says they're all bad. What?
Oh. Just for the audience back home. I'm
sorry. I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna say
basically true.
I'm going to say I spent a bit of time on this because for some reason I decided to be like Mark and actually invest in this project. So I'm going to give a little background to Harlan. He's a Finnish director who bankrupted Carolco Pictures pretty much single-handedly. He was once attached to Alien 3 for a whole year, and instead of making that, and we all know what happened to Fincher.
Yeah,
made a big hit with his Nightmare on Elm Street 4. That was his breakthrough, and it was a sizable box office hit.
It's not on my list.
He didn't know. We're not talking Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's the one where the dog pee brings Freddy back to life. So
take my money. Take my money.
Yeah.
He did Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger, probably best known for those back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
What I found interesting about those is that back around that time, he did vastly more violent, gratuitous cuts of both of them in the same style as Dutch filmmaker Paul Verhoeven was doing with RoboCop. Like everyone gets shot 50 times or impaled on 3 pieces of ice and then has their guts come out. I mean, he really went to town on it. I mean, Cliffhanger was like a 15 in the UK. The work print for that is not a 15. And Die Hard 2, I think it was actually cut in the UK for ages. And then when I saw it uncut, I thought, well, that's pretty violent. The work print's more violent on that. He did a trio of movies with his then wife, Gina Davis, which was an interesting choice. I mean, he got 1 out of 3 right.
You're talking films or wives?
Yeah, tell me about it. He sunk a studio with one of them, but then he made the moderately successful Long Kiss Goodnight, infinitely more memorable, at least for me, because it's got a script by Shane Black, who did Lethal Weapon, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the scripts for. And then since then he's been super naff. He did a riff on Speed, and he's ended up in going foreign. I think he went to Bulgaria to make a few movies, and his latest project was going to be a Gerard Butler film called The Bricklayer, and then Butler, I think, had a modicum of success, rightly so, with some decent movies, and so he lost him, and he's got Aaron Eckhart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Renny Harlin and Aaron Eckhart. There we go. And he's doing 3 new Strangers movies. So he's an interesting character, but I would say he's done a few good movies in amongst a whole load of I'm not sure I'm going to ever watch this again movies. So let's start. Come on, Tom, give us from your memory of a 8-year-old here. Tell us what's your best and worst, and you can skew it like we always do.
Hey, man, I remember vaguely enjoying Cutthroat Island as a kid, but I remember literally nothing about it. And I'm going to say, like, that's true of most of his movies for me. Like, I've seen Cliffhanger, and I remember John Lithgow, and
even Craig Fairbrass.
It's Craig Fairbrass in it.
Oh, is an absolute classic. You need to watch that again after.
I mean,
podcast.
maybe I'll get around to it. But best by a country mile, Deep Blue Sea. Fucking love that. I mean, love that movie.
You could have that as the worst, actually.
No, it's brilliant.
Yes, you could.
It's amazing.
I mean, I think that's why I like it so much, because it's just nuts.
It's terrible.
So dumb.
It's
That's a great film. That is a great good bad movie.
You ate my bird.
And I just wish that I had a hat with a shark's fin on it.
Oh my god!
Deep does contain one of the greatest shark deaths of all time. That's true.
Yeah, man.
Several of them, several surprise deaths in that involve the sharks like biting in between and then ripping the body apart and then come and circle back around.
And just a genuine shocker as well in the middle of it. Genuine, proper shocker in the middle of it.
And at the end.
Which like totally elevates it. Like you're watching this dumb shark movie and it did something nuts. That's great.
Yeah.
So
best ever shark effects in a movie. Those practical sharks in that film are amazing.
Yeah, they are cracking.
Amazing.
They really made some genius sharks to do all that stuff.
Yes,
they did. And they did it slightly bigger than the animatronic in Jaws. Yeah.
Worst of the things that I can remember, it's definitely the Exorcist prequel that isn't Dominion, which is just
the beginning.
Yeah.
It is like it rivals Exorcist 2 for bad.
He took over Schrader, didn't he? He took over from Schrader.
Not really took over. Like they just both had the reins. They were both allowed.
No, Schrader's was taken off him before it got to cinemas by the studio. So the cinemas then hospital passed it to Harlin for the cinema release. So only Harlin's got out to the cinema. But then for the home video release, that's when they thought, well, we might as well release both of them. Double our money on these 2 turds.
Yeah.
Is Schrader any better?
Yes, it's better.
A little bit.
But it's not a good movie.
No.
So there you go. Those are my best and worst. Like one I haven't seen that I would quite like to is the Dyatlov Pass incident. Not necessarily because I think it's going to be a good movie, but because I quite like the actual Dyatlov Pass incident. Like that's an interesting thing that happened for real. So yeah, I'll watch a movie based on that. That sounds good.
That's that. I smell that being Mark's top pick. I do.
By that,
go on, Mark. Go on, tell us.
It's not as good as Cliffhanger. It's not as good as Die Hard 2. It's not as good as A Long Kiss Goodnight. But the Dyatlov Pass incident, or otherwise known as Devil's Pass, is a really surprisingly good little found footage film. Now, I came to this about a week after I saw Brian De Palma's found footage film Redacted. And I just thought, oh my God, not another Hollywood director who just doesn't understand how to do found footage. And the first 20 minutes of this was awful. I mean, it just didn't convince at all. So to fill you in all this, in 1959, in the Ural Mountains in Russia, 9 hikers mysteriously disappeared. What we have now, back in 2013, is a group of 5 college students, and their video cameras decide to go and recreate the incident and try and find out what happened. So they traipse through Russia, and all the setup is just god awful. It's horrible. They don't convince us. You know, the one good thing about found footage films is they often convince because the actors are actually pretty good, and and all this kind of stuff. First 20 minutes of this is absolutely dreadful, but then they get into the mountains, and what Harlin does here is he actually weaves a really interesting little narrative around it all. The reality is these hikers just disappeared. No one knows what's happened to them.
Yeti.
So Harlin concocts a fairly interesting, hard sci-fi premise around it. Yetis are in there, but that's not where it ends. So I actually thought that what this did really well is it carved a really interesting narrative out of the found footage format and this real life incident. It sort of bolted them both together to give something that I actually really quite dug at the end. And I thought was really, it's not Harlin at all because it's small, it's tiny, it's found footage. There's no big explosions or anything, but I really dug it. And check it out, Tom. It's on Freevee. So you might have
that's terrible. It is on Freevee. It is on Freevee.
Do love adverts. So thanks for that.
Adverts are so awful, but it is on Freevee. It is. Thank you. What's your worst?
Well, I was going to agree with Tom. The Exorcist, the beginning. The Schrader one was not great, but then again, whoever thought Paul Schrader would do a decent Exorcist film? They couldn't have gone for 2 diametrically opposed filmmakers. Paul Schrader gave you 100 minutes of talky religious philosophizing, and Renny Harlin gave you 100 minutes of subpar CG and nonsensical story. And it's no wonder that both of them were great steaming piles. The sad thing is, if you actually probably stuck them both together, you'd have got something that would probably resemble Exorcist 3 out of that concoction.
You couldn't have picked like Legend of Hercules, like in a movie where there was such a thing as a lesser Hercules movie in a year where there was such a thing as a lesser Hercules movie. I mean, because
at the end of the day, this is the Exorcist franchise. It just Harlin shouldn't have been anywhere near this. And I mean, you can imagine that they either paid him an awful lot of money or someone had some photos in a brown paper envelope somewhere.
You say it's the Exorcist franchise, but it was the 4th movie, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, fifth.
It's the 5th movie in the Exorcist franchise, and how well had those sequels been going to that point?
Oh, 2 out of the 3 were utterly amazing, and 1 was fascinatingly terrible.
Yes,
wasn't
the John Borman second one is one of the best bad movies of all time.
But
isn't 3 only good in the Dominion cut?
No,
3 is good. All cut. 3 is a good movie. Like
I prefer the theatrical cut, if I'm honest.
Correct. It's tighter.
Good answer. Yes, and it's got an actual exorcism in it.
Yeah, that's right. Which William Peter Blatty didn't want.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. Everyone check out the Dyatlov Pass incident on Freevee. It's really quite good.
Tell me. You hate them all.
Yeah, there's nothing good. Well, that's not true.
Then?
I mean, I can't stand Die Hard 2. I think it's a pile of crap. But I do quite like Cliffhanger. I quite like Cliffhanger. That was quite good. Starts off well, continues on well, and ends ends very well. So that I'd give that as my best because that's pretty good. And I'm going to go with Die Hard 2 because it's just terrible.
Oh my god,
you've gone insane.
It's a terrible film.
You've gone insane.
Oh,
even if you don't like it, it's worst film.
Oh my god, he's done like Driven, and Mind Hunters with LL Cool J and Christian Slater. He's done He's done Legend of Hercules. He's done Skip Trace, which
Skip
you
Traces, which I
actually
did
watched.
see.
Yes,
I did watch yesterday.
And although I said to you, it's got some good Jackie Chan in it,
Which
it's
it
a
does.
bad movie.
It's a bad movie because it doesn't.
But it's
there's nothing
worse
about.
than Die Hard 2.
Well,
Mind
well,
blown.
you see, you can't say that that's a Renny Harlin film, that Skip Trace, because it doesn't look anything like a Renny Harlin film. It looks like a Jackie Chan film, or it looks like any Hong Kong made martial arts film. There's nothing in there that you would say, oh, that's a Renny Harlin move, that's a Renny Harlin look, that's a Renny Harlin act. It's not, because it doesn't look anything like it. Whereas Die Hard 2 is quintessentially exactly what he produces, and it's crap. So
that is a hot take. That's a hot take, Si. I'm so close to saying that's my favorite movie. I'm going to have to take a breath.
Can we make this categorically clear for the rest of the world? Simon does not speak for all of us.
I think the are expressive enough. For my worst movie, I would have to say, and I watched a lot of these bad movies. I watched 12 Rounds again. I watched Skip Trace. I started Mindhunters. I watched Deep Blue Sea, and I would have watched Driven, but I couldn't find it. I have to say, of these, the one I'm going to pick The Legend of Hercules, because I didn't need either Hercules movie.
Hey, come on, the one with the rock, he flips a horse.
I didn't need either Hercules movie in my life. And then in
a horse
month period, they make 2 Hercules movies, and the one with the rock is
good. I agree.
Is perfectly watchable, but I still didn't need it. But this Legend of Hercules one with
is it Kellen Lutz?
Ellen Lutz?
Is he the? How do I even know that? Oh my god!
Why? Would you... It just seems it's almost like those asylum movies they make. You know, like
Mega Shark versus Hercules. Would watch.
So
would watch.
That's gonna get my worst. Now I mean, Mark's already picked Cliffhanger. It's the obvious choice. I was gonna pick Long Kiss Goodnight.
I haven't picked Cliffhanger.
I picked Cliffhanger.
You picked Cliffhanger. So I picked Cliffhanger, which was the obvious choice. But I was gonna pick Long Kiss Goodnight because Shane Black, fantastic script.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to pick Die Hard 2. I'm going to do it. I mean, Shane Black makes Long Kiss Goodnight a great movie, but is it Renny Harlin's best movie because of Renny Harlin? Probably not. It's the script. The script is what makes that movie so freaking awesome. But Die Hard 2 is a Renny Harlin movie, and he takes 88 minutes. I think that's the name of the book, and he spins it into a Die Hard sequel, which I always gave when I was younger. I always used to give it a lot of grief for being a retread, but actually, it's got a lot going for it. It's got William Sadler as this
naked William Sadler,
crazy colonel, who's decided to replicate and take over an airport by set up in a church with then high-tech equipment. I mean, they spend a lot of time establishing that, and it's a great idea. They got William Sadler has taken over all of the planes and is talking to them as if he's air traffic control and can get them to crash into the ground. It's a fabulous premise.
And I tell you, that bit where they turn the cartridges over from the red to the blue tape, I remember just jaw dropping at that. It's like, no!
There are some great moments in here that go against expectations from the first movie. The cartridges, as you say, the setting is unusual. It's in and around this airport, but it does take to the snow quite a lot, and that's a lot of fun as well. I think it's got a lot going for it.
It's brilliant. It's a good movie.
There's just some fabulous set pieces in it, and I mean, there are days when I'm happier to put that on rather than the first one, because I know the first one inside out.
Yes,
and really kind of sit back and enjoy it. And I don't think I ever fully appreciated that until Si said it was his worst. Coming soon, right? We'll be checking out Exorcist Believer, talking Exorcist movies. This is the one not directed by Renny Harlin, unfortunately, Mark, at the cinema.
I think I'd rather it be directed by him, quite frankly.
Disney's Loki season 2. Fall of House of Usher, the review's up. It's just a premiere review. I'll update it for a full season. Basically, watch it. Everyone watch it. It's very, very good. Very Poe. And that's what everyone needs in their lives. On Disc, we'll have reviews of Criterion's After Hours 4K and Rosemary's Baby, hopefully. That's going to land in time. And Scream 3 and maybe even early looks at Ghost Dog, Where the Samurai, and the Hellraiser Quartet.
Whoa.
Yes. Do let us know if there's anything we've not covered that you think we should check out. And that is it for the AV Forums Movies podcast this week. So my thank you to the movie team. Tom, Wibble,
Hello.
Wibble.
No, I'm over that now.
Si,
Yes. Thank you. Good night.
and Mark.
Yippee-ki-yay, Kimusabi.
If you enjoyed the podcast, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel, plus hit the notification bell so you don't miss out when we publish our live streams, product reviews, and more. If you really like the podcast, then buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/avforums. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook and bookmark avforums.com for the latest reviews, news, and videos. Plus, why not leave us a 5-star rating on whichever service you use, if they allow it, but only if you enjoyed the show. I am Kaz Harlow. Thank you for watching and listening, and join us for another podcast real soon.
Goodbye.
Doodle pip.